Yo, what's going on? Today we're going to dive into one of the age-old stories going on with Tiffany Henyard. We actually did a video about the appointment and the process, and I also did a video about the police chief specifically and what his weird situation was going on with his son who was convicted of committing an assault on an elderly person. It's actually kind of crazy. I'll put the link to the video above or either pin it in the comment below. But in this video, we're going to talk about two things that are going on with Tiffany Henyard's appointments. And they pose some type of a legal question. And again, hey, your boy got a 9 to 5 job. So I'm going to do some research, but I'm not doing super duper deep dives. But one does bring up an issue that we got to talk about because I'm seeing two conflicting things going on in the media, and I'm not sure where it lies. And it could create a problem for the trustees that may end up being in Tiffany Henyard's favor, which probably wouldn't be a good thing considering the amount of misappropriations and misuse of government funds that's purportedly going on with the super mayor Tiffany Henyard. Let's dive into the video. Let's get it.
A Cook County court has reversed some of Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard's decisions. At last night's village board meeting, Henyard announced a 30-day temporary appointments for police chief, village attorney, special counsel, and executive assistant. But in court today, a judge ruled Henyard's appointment of Michael Smith as executive assistant was not valid. The special counsel appointment was also invalidated. This is part of the ongoing tug of war between Henyard and board members. She appeared for that hearing via Zoom.
Okay, so let's talk about it. This is what's going on, okay? And I think sometimes I don't know, it's confusing because the use of the word appointment when it comes to what Tiffany Henyard is trying to do is just confusing to me because she keeps saying I get to make my appointments, but normally she actually would make a nomination. Hey, I nominate this person to be appointed to this position. Then the trustees would have to vote. But as we know, there's a big conflict going on between the trustees and Tiffany Henyard in all of her roles, in her roles as the supervisor and her role as the mayor. So the court essentially came out and said, yo, you can't make these illegal appointments. So these people can't take these jobs. Now that we fast forward, it looks like Tiffany Henyard is being allowed to make 30-day appointments to be able to put people in this position so people can effectively, or the government in theory could effectively run. It's Tiffany Henyard. We don't know how effective it'll be with these appointments, but that's the theory behind it. Now, let's just think of it from a commonsensical standpoint. It's actually a practice that we've seen before. We've seen it at the federal level when Trump was in office his first time around. He knew that he probably couldn't get his nominations pushed through, so he would appoint someone in an acting role and a temporary role, and they would just hold that role indefinitely without the confirmation of Congress. Now, there is a reason why generally someone should be allowed some type of temporary appointment. And the argument is that because to leave this position vacant for a long time, it'll put the municipality at a deficiency because they need leadership in this position so that the municipality can function, so that the job of police chief or village mayor or township attorney, village mayor, village attorney, or township attorney, those are important roles that need to be filled, and we can't hold them up if the trustees aren't confirming people. That's the logic behind it. But it looks like now she has the ability to make temporary 30-day appointment. Now, before we dive into the second story related to one of the persons she wants to appoint, which is crazy because we talked about it, but the question is, and you all let me know in the comments, especially co-counsel, because you all do deep dives and support me and get me squared away. The question is, can the 30-day appointment be renewed? I saw one media outlet say that the 30-day appointment has to be a different person. It can't be the same person. And I will tell you, if that's the case, if the 30-day appointment is only 30 days, then they have to look for a new person to appoint. It's going to be a problem because Tiffany Henyard is going to have a very strong argument saying that, hey, these 30-day appointments are too short because one is not enough time for the board to actually try to confirm these people, but two, it puts the municipality at a deficiency. So I personally think that the trustees have to tread lightly. They have to come up with a process to get Henyard's nominee along with other qualified nominees put before the board of trustees so they can make a decision. They clearly don't want Henyard's person. So what they have to do to be strategic is Henyard's appointee, but also recommend some other persons who are qualified and appear on paper to be more qualified than Henyard. Now, I think when you go back before the courts, you're in the position to say that Henyard wanted person A. These were their qualifications. And in this video we're about to see, this person wasn't even qualified. We suggested to the mayor an alternate list of persons who were qualified, and we used a search firm to identify these people. They weren't hand selected by us. They were some of the best applicants in the nation who were interested in the position. I think when the trustees, or if the trustees do that, it puts them in a much more favorable position. The position they don't want to be in is Henyard's making a nominee. They don't like the nominee, so they just refuse to ever vote on the nominee. And now Henyard is being forced to do another 30-day appointment that may or may not have to be a different person. I think that's an argument that's not going to go as well for the trustees. So I think the trustees have to take a little bit of initiative and has to pass something to have an independent third party do a search for qualified candidates, preferably candidates that are more qualified than who Henyard wants to do. And I think that's a viable option, especially in light of this next story. Let's dive in and let's see it.
More drama in Dolton tonight. The state agency that regulates local law enforcement in Illinois says Mayor Tiffany Henyard's handpicked police chief is not right now legally qualified to run the department or even serve as an officer. Fox 32 obtained a letter sent by the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board to Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard on Friday regarding her appointment of Ronald Burge Sr. as Dolton Police Chief. Henyard appointed Burge as top cop in September over the objections of the majority of the Dolton trustees, who say she can't make appointments without their consent. In the letter, the deputy director of the Training and Standards Board tells Henyard that Burge is considered inactive because Dolton has not submitted the proper paperwork on his behalf, and because Burge has not completed a requalification shoot since 2021 when he was with the Dixmoor Police Department. For these reasons, he is currently not authorized to exercise law enforcement authority or to carry a firearm publicly, the letter says. We strongly encourage you to remove him from public service until an appointment is submitted and the board determines if he is eligible for reactivation and a training waiver. Last month, Dolton trustees were granted a restraining order, preventing Burge from serving without the board's approval. But after a chaotic village board meeting on Wednesday, the judge agreed with Henyard that Burge could serve as police chief on an interim basis for 30 days until a new chief is selected. The letter also includes a stern reminder to Henyard of your duty to conduct a thorough background check of Mr. Burge's criminal and employment history before making your determination of employment. Now, it's unclear just how much Burge has actually been working at the Dolton Police Department since his appointment. I spoke tonight to Dolton trustee Jason House, who told me they will likely now go back to court with that letter and try to convince the judge that Burge should not even be serving in an interim capacity.
Okay, now, point number one, if they go back to court with that letter, they're going to be in prime position because in order to serve as the chief of police, the top cop, the top sheriff, any of that, you have to have law enforcement authority. In fact, if you don't have law enforcement authority to carry a firearm, you're either doing one of two things. You're carrying a firearm as a civilian with a concealed carry permit, or if you don't have that, you're carrying a firearm illegally throughout the city. But I think this is a perfect example of why the trustees have to take initiatives. If the trustees can pull their votes and they have enough votes to actually pass this, they can actually on their own pass some legislation to allow for the independent search and recommendation of names of qualified candidates. And now when they go back in court, they'll have a much stronger argument. They can say, hey, Henyard tried to make an appointment. It was a 30-day appointment. The individual who she tried to appoint can't hold the position by law because they are, in effect, not a law enforcement officer. They're not a qualified LEO. So I think the court is going to uphold that and stand on it. But their second argument has to be, in the alternative, we collectively, as the Board of Trustees, voted and passed to do a third-party search where an independent company conducted a search nationwide, and we found these individuals who qualify for the position, who have an interest in holding the position. We presented this to the mayor, and the mayor refused to select an individual off of this list for us to consider for a vote to have them appointed. That's the argument that needs to be made. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. It looks like more Tiffany Henyard doing Tiffany Henyard stuff, trying to put people who she thinks she has influence and leverage over, who would do her beckoning whim at these trustees meetings, or whether it's potentially leaning on a business person to make some type of donation. It's getting real crazy. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. And if you enjoyed this content, check out the content on the screen. There's going to be more content related to attorney reactions.